More than 130 people die while riding a bike in Florida in 2014. Now, that's according to the State Department of Highway Safety.
Now, those numbers make Florida one of the deadliest states in the country for bicyclists. Riders tell Channel 3's Jackalyn Kovac that distracted driving and a lack of knowledge are to blame.
Bicycling can be a recreational sport or a means of transportation. For Elena Galbally, it's both.
Usually I'm working inside, sitting on a desk, and it's my little outdoor time.
Elena has been riding a bike since she was young and chose 2 wheels over 4 after getting her license. She tells me that the worst part about riding her bike is the lack of bike lanes in busy Pensacola areas, especially along the 3-mile bridge when she rides to the beach.
They will just try to pass you in any possible way, and sometimes really close. Especially when it's windy, the car will pass you so there's no wind and it kind of sucks you in, and then if it's a big car especially, then they pass through and it you wobble a little bit.
Kenneth Fields, a volunteer at the Alfred Washburn Center, gets around town using his bike for financial reasons. He tells me he was hit in 2002 while riding to work, but he admits he was going the wrong way.
I've seen on news where people have actually gotten hit by cars that are actually behind them. And I think that by going against traffic, you have a better shot that if someone actually comes over towards you, you have a better shot at actually seeing and getting out the way.
He claims drivers are too distracted these days, and he has to watch for them. David Simpson, a personal injury lawyer, agrees, saying he's noticed the trend in cases he's handled.
We see a larger influx of younger people driving, using their phone devices because they're used to it. And that's the biggest thing I've seen in the cases is we can almost guarantee there's been a distracted driver when a cyclist gets hit.
In 2004, the Florida Department of Highway Safety and Motor Vehicles reported that 135 bicyclists were hit and killed in the state of Florida. Just 4 years earlier, that number was a little more than half that. So why the increase? Elena thinks drivers are too impatient and blame the bikers for being on the road.
It's okay, what exactly do you want me to do?
But the Florida Highway Patrol warns drivers that's just where riders are supposed to be.
If there's no designated bicycle lanes, then they need to ride as close to the right-hand part of the curb as possible.
Lieutenant Streeter explains that drivers need to be aware of where a bicyclist is and share the road. And if you would need to pass a bicyclist, make sure to give them at least 3 feet of space. Not doing so could result in a violation and possibly a fine. I'll have more on that later at 10:30. Jackalyn Kovac, Channel 3 News.
As Jackalyn said, we'll have part 2 of that report in our second half hour.
More than 130 people died while riding a bike in Florida back in 2014, according to the State Department of Highway Safety. And that number skyrocketing from the 76 the state saw in 2010, making Florida one of the deadliest states in the country for bicyclists.
Now, Escambia County ranks with some of the top counties in the state for bicycle deaths. Channel 3's Jackalyn Kovac continues her look into the alarming increase.
In 2015, FHP handled 58 fatal bicycle crashes in the state. However, not every crash is blamed on the driver. Bicyclists make errors too. Kenneth Fields was injured while riding his bike in 2002 and tells me he didn't know a lot of the laws before his accident and wishes the homeless in the area were properly educated.
That's a good idea. Just educate the riders about riding bikes and putting your helmet on and having your lights on your bike and make sure that you obey the laws of riding bikes. I think that's a good idea, and then once they hear it, then give them a bike.
Several bicyclists will ride against traffic on the sidewalk. John Finley, the chaplain of the Waterfront Rescue Mission, tells me bikers coming through his doors tell him they do it for their own safety.
I have had conversations like that, and they've said flat out, there's no way I'm riding on the street.
David Simpson, a personal injury lawyer, tells me he understands the struggle homeless shelters face, but warns any program providing a bike could be liable if something should happen.
There is some liability there if you don't teach somebody how to use it and instruct them. At least give them a helmet, give them a pamphlet.
Bill Hadaway heads the committee that created several bike education programs currently in the state. He tells me Escambia County was just recently added to the dangerous counties being addressed. While a few bicycle deaths were reported in both Santa Rosa and Okaloosa counties, they are not high on the state's list.
We ended up adding 5 more metropolitan areas because the data wasn't a whole lot different between the top 15 and the 10th. And it just so happens that Escambia County was added as a result of that.
Hadaway tells me they are still in the early stages of addressing the problems in Escambia County. The average number of crashes reported in the county with riders being injured is around 100. The state reports around 6,600 bikers are injured every year in crashes. A bill is currently in the state legislature that would protect bicyclists and fine drivers up to $2,500 for injuring a bicyclist. It would also establish a mandatory court hearing for certain violations. Jackalyn Kovac, Channel 3 News.